Hi, and welcome to the Assembly Lines podcast. I'm Chris Torrance. Today, I want to do something different and try to repair this Sony Walkman. So let's get started. The model of Walkman we have here is the Sony FM/AM WM-F77 Walkman, and it was made in 1986. And this one actually was in really good working shape until maybe about 10 years ago when I just left it on the shelf. And recently when I tried to get it out and play a tape again, it just wouldn't do anything. So the first thing I suspected was actually the drive belt inside, and sure enough, that was the problem. So I'm going to show you how to take it apart and replace that. I went ahead and I ordered a new Walkman belt from fixyouraudio.com, and this actually came from Slovakia, so it took a couple weeks to get here. But let's see how to take this apart and replace the belt. This WM77 is actually really easy to take apart. There's just 3 screws on the back and then you can get it out. Make sure when you're taking it apart that you don't remove any of the other screws, especially not these screws on the side that hold the door together. You won't need to take those apart, and if you're like me and accidentally take this out, you're going to have a terrible time getting it back together with the door hinge. So on the back of this Walkman, there's just 3 screws here, plus 1 additional screw holding on the volume control. And all you need to do is just unscrew these. You don't need to take off the battery cover unless you want to. Once you have those 3 screws out, you just have to carefully pull the case apart. There's a couple hinges here on the back, and if you just sort of press down, then you should be able to squeeze that apart. And then on the front, there's just a few more hinges, and if you just put your fingernails in here, you should be able to just separate that just like that. And then just make sure when you're pulling it apart that you don't pull straight out, because the case itself is kind of hooked around the headphone jack. So just make sure when you're pulling it to kind of pull it away from the case. Once you've done that, you can get to the inside. So here's the circuit board, and all we need to do here is just remove a couple of the screws holding it down. So there's 1 screw right over here on the left, another screw over here. Don't be fooled by these little trim pots here. Those are not actually screws. So let's go ahead and we'll remove those 2 screws. Now that we have that unhooked, we should be able to very carefully lift off the circuit board. Just be careful when you're removing it. These wires are pretty thin, and you don't want to actually snap any of them off, because then you'll be in real trouble. You won't be able to remove the circuit board completely, but you should be able to just swing it up out of the way. Here's our drive belt, and the problem with this Walkman is the drive belt has just gotten old and all stretched out. Once you've got it apart, make a note of the way that the drive belt actually goes around the gears. So I'm just going to draw a quick little diagram just so I don't forget. Alright, so there's my diagram, and now I'm going to go ahead and open up my new drive belt here. It looks actually a lot thinner than the one that's on there, so I hope that's actually okay. Alright, now that I got that on there, it looks like it's actually, everything's turning okay. So let's go ahead and we'll reassemble it and see if we can get it to work. Alright, we got everything back together, so let's go ahead and put in some batteries and try and play a tape. Alright, so I can hear music, so that's a good sign. The last thing that you might need to do, depending on the tension in your belt, is actually adjust the speed. And to do that, on this particular Walkman, it's this little speed adjustment screw right here. So you can just turn this left or right. Left will speed it up, or counterclockwise, and right will slow it down. And the best thing to do is just find some music that you actually know so that you can actually tell the difference. So looks like everything's working now with this Walkman. Let's go ahead and close it up and give it a shot. One more thing, when you're closing up, try to avoid pinching the wires too much, just so you don't cause any problems. And then make sure to carefully put the headphone jack over the little hole there so that it doesn't get pinched. Okay. All right, there we go. Looks like it's working well. We were able to bring this Walkman back to life by just changing the drive belt inside of it. I'll have links in the show notes to where you can buy more drive belts if that turns out to be the problem with yours. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next episode.